Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe Jaya Lalita Vishaka Shri Radhe Lalita Vishaka Shri Radhe Nitai Gaura Suna Gaura Hari Jaya Nitai Gaura Suna Gaura Hari Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, text 18, verse 29. This is in prose, so I'll do my best. Hiranmaye pi Bhagavan nivasati kurma tanum bibranas tat priyattamam tanum aryama sahavarsha purushai pitriganadipatir upadavati mantram imam chanujapati. Word for word translation. Hiranmaye in Hiranmaya Varsha. Api, indeed. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nivasati, resides. Kurma Tanum, the body of a tortoise. Ibranaha, manifesting. Tasya, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tat, that. Priyatamam, dearmost. Tanum, body. Aryama, Aryama, the chief resident of Hiranmaya Varsha. Saha, with. Varsha Purushahi, the people of that tract of land. Pitrigana Adipatihi, who is the chief of the Pitas. Upadavati, worships and devotional service. Mantram, him. Imam, this. Cha, also. Anujapati, chants. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Shukadev Goswami continued, in Hiranmaya Varsha, the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, lives in the form of a tortoise, Kurma Sharira. This most dear and beautiful form is always worshipped there in devotional service by Aryama, the chief resident of Hiranmaya Varsha, along with the other inhabitants of that land. They chant the following hymns. Purport. The word Priyatama, dearmost, is very significant in this verse. Each devotee regards a particular form of the Lord as most dear. Because of an atheistic mentality, some people think that the tortoise, boar, and fish incarnations of the Lord are not very beautiful. They do not know that any form of the Lord is always the fully opulent personality of Godhead. Since one of his opulences is infinite beauty, all the Lord's incarnations are very beautiful and are appreciated as such by devotees. Non-devotees, however, think that Lord Krishna's incarnations are ordinary material creatures, and therefore they distinguish between the beautiful and the not beautiful. A certain form of the Lord is worshipped by a particular devotee because he loves to see that form of the Lord. As stated in the Brahma Samhita 533, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha. The very beautiful form of the Lord is always youthful. Sincere servants of a particular form of the Lord always see that form as very beautiful, and thus they engage in constant devotional service to him. Translation one more time. Shukadev Goswami continued, in Hiranmaya Varsha, the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, lives in the form of a tortoise, Kurma Sharira. This most dear and beautiful form is always worshipped there in devotional service by Aryama, the chief resident of Hiranmaya Varsha, along with the other inhabitants of that land. They chant the following hymns. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Chalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, good morning. Am I still audible on Zoom? Can everyone hear me okay? Thumbs up.
Loud and clear.
Haribol, thank you. Okay. So the first thing that came to mind as I was reading this verse was I was reflecting how when I first started Krishna consciousness and I read about the horse incarnation for the first time, I believe his name is Hayagriva, I was kind of disturbed. I was just thinking like a half horse, half man looking being. And I was just thinking about how unattractive that is. But we can see Prabhupada makes a point in this purport. This is due to the atheistic mentality that some people think that these forms, like the tortoise, the boar, the fish, they're not very beautiful. I was thinking like, yeah, Krishna makes sense. I can see why he's the most beautiful, but I don't really think someone with a horse head is that attractive. But this is the inconceivable nature of, the supreme absolute truth. All of his forms actually possess unlimited beauty, knowledge, wealth, strength, fame, and renunciation. And it doesn't matter if it's the tortoise incarnation, the boar incarnation, the horse-headed incarnation. The nature of this beauty of the supreme absolute truth is that all jivas are captivated by it. So I know for a fact that if I met Hayagriva in person, I would be enchanted by his beauty. If I met the horse incarnation, the tortoise incarnation, because their beauty is unlimited. And the nature of the jiva being so tiny is that we are instantly overwhelmed by that beauty of the Supreme Lord. So all of his forms are unlimitedly beautiful. And I was also reflecting on the nature of how love is actually subjective. So in our practice, we're trying to cultivate love for Krishna, but there are unlimited numbers of jivas, unlimited numbers of devotees for all of the incarnations of the Supreme Lord. So Kurma, Hayagriva, Matsya, there are a countless number of jivas out there who have developed love and complete unalloyed surrender to these particular incarnations of the Lord. And in their minds, in their hearts, there is no form, there is no aspect of the Supreme that is more attractive than this particular form. So the devotees of Kurma or the devotees of Matsya, you can't convince them otherwise that their Supreme Lord is, the Supreme, is the most beautiful, is the most powerful, is the most attractive. And this is totally okay. This is totally perfect. This is totally fine. It's not like they're in the wrong for not seeing Krishna as being the supreme, or thinking that Krishna is the most attractive. This is actually demonstrated in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita as Gopakumar is traveling throughout, the different planetary systems and the different spiritual worlds. He's coming in contact with so many different devotees of the Lord, who are worshipers of different aspects of the Supreme Absolute Truth, different forms, different incarnations, different avatars. And we can see by studying this text that all of these devotees are perfectly satisfied in their relationship with this particular avatar of Krishna. And yeah, it's a really wonderful thing when you think about it. And yeah, we can see as Gopakumar is traveling throughout the different planetary systems, when he meets these different forms of the Supreme Lord, he also becomes enchanted. He also becomes captivated and attracted, because this is just the nature of the absolute truth. He's unlimitedly beautiful, unlimitedly everything. And this is extremely attractive for the jiva. And Gopakumar, he becomes intensely attracted to these particular forms. But because the form of the Lord that he is most attracted to and that he has fully surrendered to is Krishna himself, all of these other forms couldn't take him away, or couldn't sway that attraction that he had for Krishna. And ultimately, that attraction brought him all the way up to Goloka Vrindavan. So think about it. He met all of these wonderful personalities. He met Lord Ram, Vishnu, who else? So many different avatars of the Supreme. And none of them could capture his heart except for Krishna. And we can see, there were devotees, I believe, in, what was it, Ayodhya? And They were trying to convince Gopakumar, Hanuman. Hanuman was trying so hard to convince Gopakumar that Lord Ram is the supreme. There's no one more attractive than Lord Ram. But he couldn't shake Gopakumar's determination. Neither could Gopakumar shake Hanuman's determination that Lord Ram was his only sole worshipable Lord. So we should understand that love is not objective, it's subjective. And ultimately, we, as Krishna Bhaktas, we're trying to cultivate love for Krishna. And what's interesting is that, through the Shastra, you can make an objective argument that Krishna actually is the supreme and he is more attractive than any of these other forms. It's stated in Srimad Bhagavatam as well. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original form of the supreme. And from this form, all other forms emanate. So within this form of Krishna, all the beauty that we see in all of these other forms like Kurma and Matsya, they're all existing within the form of Krishna. And Krishna possesses all of the qualities that that all of the other avatars of Vishnu possess. But Krishna is unique because he possesses 4 unique qualities that none of the other avatars possess. Now, I'm going to ask everyone for help to help me remember these 4 different qualities. I remember one of them being his supremely attractive flute playing. Now, there are 3 more. Does anyone remember the other 3? Leela Madhurya, Dasya says. Dasya Prem, thank you so much. The sweet, attractive pastimes that the Supreme Personality, Krishna, engages with his devotees. These are beyond compared to any of the other Leelas that any of the other avatars of Krishna perform, because Krishna's Leelas are actually the sweetest, especially his Leelas in the land of Goloka Vrindavan with his intimate associates. So there's Leela Madhurya, there's the Venu Madhurya. There's 2 more. Does anyone remember the other 2? Rupa Madhurya, the sweetness of Krishna's form. This is the 3rd. So Krishna's form is the epitome of sweetness. Shastra makes the argument that, as I mentioned, all of the beauty, all of the characteristics, all of the sweetness of every other form of the Lord finds its perfection in Krishna's form. So Rupa Madhurya, Leela Madhurya, Venu Madhurya, and there's one more. Prema Madhurya, the sweetness of Krishna Prema. So Krishna Prem is, or Prem, or pure love for the Supreme Personality, Krishna, is the pinnacle of pure love that can be experienced by the jiva, and particularly in the form of Mahabhava, which can only be experienced by the gopis of Vrindavan. So this particular ecstasy is limited only to these most intimate servants of the Supreme Lord. So this is why we are so attracted and aspiring so to fall in love with the Supreme Personality of Krishna, because of his unique sweetness, beauty, flute playing, his leelas. They're all supremely attractive. However, us being Krishna Bhaktas doesn't put us on a pedestal above all of the other Bhaktas of the Supreme Lord. So the Ram Bhaktas, the Matsya Bhaktas, the Kurma Bhaktas, wherever they are, they also, are perfect in their relationship with the Supreme Personality, with God, with Krishna. And we should acknowledge that and respect that as such. So yeah, love is subjective, but Krishna, we can understand from Shastra, is a Supreme Personality. But let us not dismiss the devotees or the uniqueness of the other avatars of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. So I heard a really interesting quote recently, and I believe it was Giri Maharaj who said it. But he makes this point that Krishna consciousness is love masquerading as philosophy. I've been reflecting on this for the past couple of days, and you can see, in this particular verse and purport today, um, how much love the residents of Hiramaya Varsha have for the Supreme Personality of Kurma. And yeah, I was just reflecting on how interesting this is. If you think about it, Krishna consciousness is very simple. It's simply, the art and science of how to love, how to give love, how to accept love. But unfortunately, we were born in Kali Yuga, and due to this, we have very, well, I'll speak for myself. Our intelligence is very dull, very stunted. We're short-lived. We're constantly riddled with anxiety, and we don't have, unfortunately, many of us, have never experienced pure, selfless love from another being. So because of that, it makes it very difficult for us to actually understand what love is. We all have different conceptions of love that develop from hearing from others, consuming media. A lot of us have a very distorted perception of what love is just based on the media that we're exposed to as we grow up. We see these things on TV and we think, oh, okay, this is how you're supposed to love someone. Or we unfortunately are exposed to real life situations that are actually harmful, that are actually violent, but we're told this is what love is. This is how you're supposed to love another human being. And because of that, we have a distorted perception of what love actually is. So this is why we need, things like Shastra and the association of advanced devotees to actually help us understand what love actually is, what love actually looks like. It's explained in Shastra, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that real pure love is prema. And what that looks like satisfying the senses of Krishna, the Supreme Lord. And lust is the opposite of that. Lust is actually our ambition to satisfy our own senses. And this is a pretty heavy statement because, without Krishna consciousness, this means that all of our attempts to express love um, in this world are actually simply lust. And this could be a very, very heavy and hard pill to swallow. But I'd like to think that, love in the material world is more of a reflection of the love that's possible to be experienced in the spiritual world. And there are different degrees of selflessness. So even though we're not experiencing or expressing pure love right now because we have so many anarthas and, so many things in the heart that we have to deal with, um, there are different degrees to which we can express some kind of selfless love. And that's still a beautiful thing. And I think Prabhupada makes the point in his books that the closest thing that comes to pure and selfless love is the love that a mother has for her children. And we can see how painstakingly and how many sacrifices a mother makes in her, in her raising her children, and how much she will sacrifice in order to make sure that they have everything that they need, and that they're healthy. At least most mothers in this day and age, sacrifice so much. But the point is made that, even this love, even though it looks like it's, extremely selfless, there are still tinges of selfishness in that love because the mother is experiencing her own pleasure from raising the child, in the sense that it's almost like they're hoping for a return on investment. It's like, if I invest in my child and help them to grow and help them to become successful, then when I'm older, they'll take care of me and they'll give me everything that I need. So it's not purely selfless, but it's not like that's a completely bad thing either. But if we want to know what pure love is, what pure selfless love looks like, this is why we need the help from Shastra. We need to study books like Srimad Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the stories and the histories of great devotees and acharyas in our line, so that we can see what love looks like practically expressed between one person to another. And I would say, at least from my personal experience, the books that really helped me to understand, or at least have a glimpse of what, affection and love looks like on, the transcendental platform, are the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. So the pastimes between Lord Chaitanya and his devotees are so sweet, and they help us to see like what loving exchanges look like in the association of devotees of Krishna. And by studying books like The Nectar of Instruction by Srila Rupa Goswami, we're actually practically instructed on how to express love and how to accept love in the association of devotees. So Rupa Goswami, he delineates 6 different loving exchanges that devotees can engage in. The first 2 are the revealing of the mind in confidence, and then hearing from others as they reveal their minds to us. And this is so important in Krishna consciousness. I can tell you for myself, it's benefited me tremendously to have at least one person. If you have more, that's wonderful. But we should at least try to cultivate a deep enough relationship with one devotee that we feel like we can confidently express our mind to, and not be rejected and be accepted and heard. And this in itself can be so healing and can help us to overcome so many challenges, just knowing that we're being heard and still accepted despite what we may be sharing. And there's a psychologist by the name of Carl Rogers that me and some devotees were just speaking about yesterday, whose philosophy was the humanitarian approach to psychology. And this was his whole thing. He felt like besides the therapy, besides the specific psychological techniques that he might use with the people that he's working with, from his experience, what he noticed is the most healing for his clients, for lack of a better word, his clients. He found that what was most healing for them was the relationship between him and his client. Just the client knowing that they had someone that they could fully reveal their heart to and still feel like they were accepted and heard and appreciated as genuine human beings, that in itself helped the clients to make so much advancement and so much healing in the particular circumstances that they were dealing with. So it works. So this is the first one: hearing in confidence, and accepting, and revealing the mind in confidence. Then the second one is offering gifts and accepting gifts from devotees. So this is such a simple and sweet way to express our love to one another. And yeah, it's really important to not only, like give gifts, but being able to accept gifts as well, allowing ourselves to accept the mercy that is coming to us from the devotees and, from the Supreme Lord himself, ultimately. We shouldn't, if a devotee tries to give us something, we shouldn't, be in this mood of like, oh no, Prabhu, I don't deserve this, I'm too fallen, please give that to someone else. No, it's a loving exchange from the devotee. It's the devotee's expression of appreciation and love for you. And also we can see it as Krishna's expression of his appreciation and his love for us. So we should accept these gifts open-heartedly. And then the third one, I can't remember what the third one is. Does anyone remember what the third? Haribol, how did I forget that one? Thank you so much, Dasya Prem. So the third expression of love is the giving and receiving of prasadam from the devotees. So this is probably my favorite. This is the easiest way into my heart. If you ever want to express love and affection for me, this is how you do it. But yes, giving prasadam, connecting the devotees or connecting others to the mercy of the Lord through the mercy that is his prasadam. So this is what's so wonderful about Krishna consciousness. Unfortunately, because I'm so, unintelligent, and I have a Kali Yuga body, I come into this world covered by ignorance without an understanding of what love actually is. But by the mercy of the acharyas, by the mercy of the devotees, by the mercy of Krishna, we can actually learn by coming in contact with Shastra and these devotees what love actually looks like and how we can express that love to other people. And ultimately, this is what we're striving for as becoming servants of Krishna. If we want to be an actual servant, our responsibility as a servant is to become ambassadors of this love, ambassadors of this mercy that is coming down from Krishna through the parampara, through the acharyas, down to us. And this is what it means to be a servant. There's a quote from someone named Goth. I'm guessing he's famous, but I've never heard of him before. But I really like this quote. Where is it? I had it in my phone. Oh no, this isn't the quote I want to read just yet. I want to read a quote from His Holiness Swayam Bhagavan Keshava Maharaj. So he defines what a servant actually is. So for a long time, I had this conception that to be a servant, it means just to do things for other people. So whether it be helping them clean the temple room or helping them to bottle milk or milk the cows, this is how I'm serving, by doing physical things for this person. But he gives a very nice definition. He says, a servant means to empower, to invest, to encourage, to uplift, and support others. So this is what we're striving to do by becoming servants of Krishna, by becoming servants of the devotees. Of course, we also want to help the devotees with practical physical things, but ultimately, we should be looking for means to empower others, to invest in them, to encourage them, and to uplift them in their spiritual lives and their Krishna consciousness. And we can see by practical example that Srila Prabhupada embodied this so well. Studying Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, we can see that Prabhupada really helped us to understand that a real leader is one who considers him the servant of everyone. And Srila Prabhupada considered himself the just that. I believe he's quoted as saying that he saw his disciples being sent to him directly from his spiritual master to be gurus in training. That's what Prabhupada saw them as. He saw them that it was his responsibility to train them up to be the future gurus of our movement. And that's how he acted. And we can see that, just through his life, through his actions, through his words, he did just this. He empowered his disciples. He empowered those who followed him to achieve things that they never thought they would be capable of achieving. And there's a nice quote. Now I'll read the quote from this person named Goth. And the quote is, "Treat a man as he is, and he shall remain as he is. Treat a man as he can and should be, and he will become as he can and should be." And Prabhupada demonstrated this perfectly. We can see that in the beginning, most of Prabhupada's disciples were hippies. They were averse to responsibility, and they were enamored by, sense gratification. And Prabhupada took these persons and he believed in them more than they believed in themselves. And he empowered them and he treated them as though they were capable of achieving great things. And because Prabhupada had that faith in them, it inspired them to actually have that faith in themselves also. And they went on to achieve so many wonderful things on Srila Prabhupada's behalf, opening up centers across the world, making so many wonderful connections. It was amazing what, his devotees were capable of achieving. And this is simply because of the selfless love that Prabhupada imbued his disciples with. And when we read, pastimes of personalities like this, it gives us a glimpse into what real love looks like, and it inspires us to want to taste it for ourselves also. I remember reading a pastime in the Lilamrita about Prabhupada, and I guess this was more of a reflection of his love for Krishna. I don't remember all the details of the pastime, but I'll try to, present it as best as I can remember. But I believe Prabhupada was sick with malaria somewhere in India, and he was really unwell. And there was a plan for a politician and a local politician to come visit this temple that Srila Prabhupada was building. I believe it might have been the Krishna Balaram temple, but I could be wrong. And Prabhupada got word from his disciples that this personality was on his way, this politician was on his way. And Prabhupada got up from bed to receive him. And Prabhupada had been planning to give this person a tour of the temple grounds that were under construction and to, serve him so nicely in hopes that this politician would be willing to invest in the temple and donate in order for them to, acquire some supplies. I believe it was cement that was urgently needed for completing the temple construction. But the devotees were urging and pleading with Prabhupada, like, please, like, you need to rest. You're extremely ill. You shouldn't do this. But Prabhupada, was urged on by his desire to do anything in his power to have this temple built for Krishna, because Prabhupada had promised, I'm going to build you a temple here. And he did everything in his power to fulfill that promise. So the politician came, Prabhupada received him, gave him the tour, had lunch with him, spent about 2 hours with this person. And then once the politician left, Prabhupada collapsed into his bed. He had an extremely high fever. He could barely move. He had really overexerted himself. And the devotees were just shocked. They were like, Prabhupada, why? Why did you push yourself so hard? And Prabhupada was urged by that need, by that desire to do everything everything that he could to have this temple, built for Krishna. And I remember when I read that, I was just like so moved by this pastime, because it's just like, wow, imagine having so much love for someone that you are willing to sacrifice to that extent to give that person pleasure, to give that person happiness. I know when I have a cold, I don't want to do anything. But Prabhupada was deathly ill, and he was old too, and he pushed himself to such extents just to express his love for Krishna, and just ultimately to instruct us what love for Krishna actually looks like. So by coming in contact with Shastra, reading the pastimes of the Lord with his devotees, and reading about the pastimes of the devotees themselves, we can actually understand what real love actually looks like. And this is attractive, and this is inspiring, and it infuses our heart with a desire to taste that same love. Hare Krishna. So that's all that I have to share. If there are any questions, comments, or corrections, please share. Thank you all for listening.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
It's delightful to see you giving class again. I've been missing your classes for a long time. I enjoy hearing from you. I can appreciate that you like to hear, you like to read, and Srila Prabhupada used to explain to us that you want to speak nicely. First thing is you should hear nicely. If you hear nicely, then automatically you'll speak nicely. So you speak very nicely. You give wonderful classes, and I'm thinking this is partly because you have an appreciation for reading the books. So I thank you for a nice class. I'm trying to remember particular pastime from Chaitanya Charitamrita. There is one devotee. It's been so long since I read this, I can no longer remember the specifics. I can't remember this devotee's name, but he was a Ram Bhakta. And but he was also very attracted to Lord Chaitanya and encouraged by Lord Chaitanya and the followers of Lord Chaitanya to worship Lord Krishna. And he was very, very torn because he had this firm attachment to Lord Ramachandra, and he just could not give that up. He was just so extremely attached to Lord Ramachandra that even in the association of Lord Chaitanya, whose preaching efforts were largely geared towards Krishna Bhakti, and even with the encouragement of Lord Chaitanya's devotees, this individual just was unable to give up his exclusive devotion to Lord Ramachandra. So, interesting story and an example of what is described in this verse, the fact that different devotees will have their own unique set of appreciations and attachments for particular forms of the Lord. In contrast to that, there is also from Chaitanya Charitamrita the story of one Brahmana. This now is from the Madhya Lila 9th chapter. This particular Brahmin was a lifelong Ram Bhakta, but in the association of Lord Chaitanya's devotees, he became attracted to Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya asked him, he said, formerly you were constantly chanting the holy name of Lord Rama. Why are you now constantly chanting the holy name of Krishna? And he said, this is all due to your influence, sir. After seeing you, I have lost my lifelong practice. He said, from my childhood, I have been chanting the holy name of Lord Ramachandra, but upon seeing you, I chanted the holy name of Lord Krishna just once. Since then, the holy name of Krishna has been tightly fixed upon my tongue. Indeed, since I have been chanting the holy name of Krishna, the holy name of Lord Ramachandra has gone far away. And so this the story contrasts sharply with the story of the other Ram Bhakta, but it must surely indicate that this particular Brahmana was really at heart a Krishna Bhakta, even though from his childhood he had been accustomed to the worship of Lord Ramachandra. He discovered that his real attraction was for Krishna in particular. So interesting that different devotees have these different attractions, and for every individual, whatever their particular attraction is, there is a particular form of Krishna for everyone in every condition. Fascinating stuff. I don't really have a lot more to offer, but those were some of my thoughts. I want to thank you again for a really nice class. I see that there is a digital hand up, so I'll move on. Thank you again, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I'd just like to thank you again for the encouragement. And yes, I appreciated the points that you brought up. We can also see a similar situation with the brother of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanat Goswami. I can't remember his name, started with an A, but he was in a similar situation. He was a Ram Bhakta, and his brothers tried so hard to convince him, that ultimately you should, worship Krishna. And he tried to follow their instruction, but similarly, he also couldn't give up his love and affection for Lord Ram. But I do appreciate this contrasting story that you presented. I forgot about that past time, actually. So that just goes to show the supremely attractive nature of Krishna. Krishna is so attractive that he can capture, even those who are, steadily fixed in the attraction of, different avatars or different personalities. So yeah, thank you for sharing that contrast. And I believe Mother Virgilila, Hare Krishna.
Jiva Pandit Prabhu, Hari Bol. This is definitely a blessing for me this morning. Usually I have something in the mornings, and this morning it was like, whoa, Jiva Pandit Prabhu. I get to open my computer and here he is. Thank you so much. Definitely a blessing. And yeah, you made so many beautiful points. One that I'm just going through this in my mind maybe, or my intelligence, is where you said Krishna consciousness is love manifesting as philosophy. And it sounds wonderful. At the same time, we see so many devotees in the past and even in the present that are very philosophical, and they, sometimes may not reflect embodiment of love. They may reflect more embodiment of being very intelligent or being able to speak the philosophy. So how do we reconcile both of those things?
That's a very good question. Yeah, I'm not sure, if I'm being honest. Because, I can see that also. There are many personalities that I've come in contact with in my very short time in Krishna consciousness, who you meet, who you can see are just extremely learned, very well versed in Shastra. But you can get almost like a cold kind of energy from them. And you can meet people who aren't so well versed in Shastra, very simple minded, very simple hearted, but they make you feel so deeply loved and cared for and appreciated. So ultimately, which is more important? Understanding and being well versed in the Shastra and the philosophical statements of Krishna consciousness, or or having love and being able to give and receive love in a healthy way to other people. I would say ultimately, what's most important is the giving of love. And I feel like the philosophy and Shastra could help us to understand that. But yeah. Oh, what a wonderful point. Thank you, Divya. Divya just made a very nice point to me. She said, who is more dear to Krishna, the Brahmanas or the gopis? So we can see, typically Brahmanas are very well versed in Shastra, very intelligent. They're the heads of society, and it's their responsibility to disseminate spiritual knowledge to the society at large. But the gopis are, simple-minded cowherd women. They live in a village, in the forest, and they're taking care of cows all day. But their love for Krishna is the highest in all of existence. So ultimately, we should understand that love is most important. And I feel like, the philosophy, like I said, can help us to understand that, but we shouldn't neglect the importance of, cultivating love and expressing love and giving love and serving the devotees and serving others. maybe, some of our more advanced devotees can give a better answer to this. I'm sure, our devotees like Yashodev and Jagannath Pandit and Ajamil Prabhu probably have so much to say on this point. How do we reconcile, um, how some devotees may be very well versed in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, but, they may be lacking, love. Is there any way to reconcile this?
I'm not sure I really understand the question. Reconciling such a condition, every devotee advances at their own individual rate in their Krishna consciousness, and different aspects of their development in Krishna consciousness will manifest at different points in time, and it's a very individual matter. So everyone is an individual. You'll see different transcendental qualities begin to uncover themselves in a devotee as they gradually progress in Krishna consciousness, and it will be different, as I say, for every individual. But to have a firm understanding of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is it's immensely helpful. It gives you it helps you so much to progress towards pure Krishna bhakti, pure love, which ultimately is not dependent upon um, a mastery of Shastra and so on. As you say, the gopis were actually illiterate, but they had the highest realization and the greatest perfection of Krishna consciousness. Everyone will come to such a very advanced stage of Krishna consciousness in time. In the meantime, different aspects of their Krishna consciousness may manifest. Some individuals have a propensity for philosophy. They are attracted to reading the books and studying the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and that's a great thing. That's a wonderful thing. And others may be more simple-minded. They may not have the same capacity for that. But the one of the great benefits of the study of the Shastra is that it provides transcendental engagement for your mind. It gives you something to contemplate, but but by that process, whatever doubts that you may have are eliminated. You can completely satisfy your intelligence to whatever extent you require, depending upon the level of your intelligence. Some people may be very, very intelligent. They'll have lots of questions. They may have all kinds of doubts. Many different types of considerations are going through their head, but there is sufficient philosophy for them to be able to completely satisfy their intelligence and arrive at a point at which their mind arrives at a complete repose at Krishna's lotus feet. Others don't require so much to come to that same condition of a complete surrender, taking fully the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. So the gopis appeared to be like that, but we also understand that those gopis were formerly great sages and rishis, individuals who were very conversant in the Shastra and had performed tremendous austerities, all kinds of practices over a very lengthy period of time to eventually come to the point of being able to engage in such intimate service directly to Krishna as the gopis. So I'm not sure if I've shed any light on the question. I'm not sure I understand the question, but
No,
those
you
are some of
did.
my thoughts.
No, thank you so much for sharing. What comes to mind for me is I feel like a basic understanding of the philosophy is required for everyone in order to make sure that we're practicing properly. Because if we're not practicing properly, then that will impede our devotional advancement. But with a proper understanding of the philosophy, we can steadily make advancement, become purified, and through that purification, we can become, the vessels that we're aspiring to be, vessels of pure love, of the mercy that's coming down from Parampara. And in that way, we will be able to express it and share it with others in a more effective way. But that requires purification. And if we want proper purification, we need a basic understanding of the philosophy. But like you said, everyone's an individual and everyone's at a different place in their Krishna consciousness. We don't know where everyone's at. We can't see that. We don't know where they're coming from in a past life, what they've done in this life. So, yeah, but I would say, yeah, basic understanding of the philosophy is important for everyone so that we can make sure, we are getting the purification that we need so that we can actually, give real love to others. Now, Yashadev just posted something. I want to read it from the Nectar of Devotion in the chat. It's a quote from Nectar of Devotion. Some scholars recommend that knowledge and renunciation are important factors for elevating oneself to devotional service. But actually, that is not a fact. Actually, the cultivation of knowledge and renunciation, which are favorable for achieving a footing in Krishna consciousness, may be accepted in the beginning, but ultimately they may also come to be rejected. For devotional service is dependent on nothing other than the sentiment or desire for such service. It requires nothing more than sincerity. It is the opinion of expert devotees that mental speculation and the artificial austerities of yoga practice may be favorable for becoming liberated from material contamination, but they will also make one's heart harder and harder. They will not help at all in the progress of devotional service. These processes are therefore not favorable for entering into the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Actually, Krishna consciousness, devotional service itself, is the only way of advancing in devotional life. Jai, thank you for sharing that, Yashadev. It reminds me of a quote that I found or that I heard from Jiva Goswami in the, I believe it was the Bhakti Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami, and he talks about this very same point. So he says, this is from Bhakti Sandarbha, Anuched 304. He says, actually, there is no real necessity for any monumental effort of sadhana. If one simply believes with all sincerity that she is the servant of God, that sense of self-identification will in itself bring her all perfection. So sincerity is key. So we may not be as intelligent as the next person or as shastrically inclined, but if we have the sincere desire to become Krishna conscious, like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he carries what we lack and preserves what we have. So if we have that sincere desire to come to Krishna, he'll give us everything that we need to do so. And Yashadev says in the chat, in my opinion, some study Shastra to gain outcomes like status and power, while some study scripture to associate with the Lord. Very good point. Jai, thank you so much, dear devotees. Do you have anything?
Then read the song that says, devotees become very attractive if they have strong head and strong heart, strong devotion and knowledge. I was like that.
So Dasya Prem just quoted Devamrita Swami as saying, devotees become very attractive if they have both a strong head and a strong heart, meaning they have strong knowledge and strong understanding of Shastra, but they also have strong devotion.
Strong devotion, like investment in the mission and investment in their service.
By devotion, meaning strong investment in the mission of Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada's mission, and strong investment in their service. Jai, that's a nice point as well.
I want to make one last point, Prabhu, because we've seen all of those things. We've seen people invested in the service and the mission, and very philosophical. And at the same time, we've seen that some of them have been some of the biggest abusers in our movement. However, what I wanted to share was what you said, this process of purification. And really, I so much appreciate your class because you spoke so much about lust and love. And the thing about just understanding philosophy and still maintaining lusted desires could make it difficult for any one of us. And so to properly understand philosophy with this mood of knowing, am I begging for the mercy to be relieved of my lusty desires? Because ultimately, as you so nicely shared, that is what binds us to this material world, even though we might have some intellectual understanding of philosophy. So thank you. I just really wanted to thank you for the points that you made in the class.
Thank you very much for the encouragement. I appreciate it. All right, dear devotees, I believe the doors will be opening soon. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Yeah,